Guys, Dell here from Dell's Rigging and Crane Tips. Yeah. Man, haven't been on the mic for about 2 weeks now, so a bit of a catch up. I got really sick about 2 weeks ago. Had this hay fever shit, which just like smashed me, man. Didn't know what was up. I was just sneezing like every second. So got over that, got on this medication. I had something wrong with my eye. And then I got braces. So sorry if I talk like a retard. I'm sorry. Don't say retard. That's not nice. Sorry if I talk like I've got a lisp, because I do have a lisp. When I got my braces done, after he put them on, he sat me up and he was like, "Hey man, you got braces now. Your teeth aren't going to be right for a while. But we've had to put these wedges in the back of your jaw. So you're going to have a lisp for about 6 months." And I was like, cheers, man. I didn't know I got the braces lisp package. Yeah, thanks, man. You know, the whole reason I got these is so the lads at work wouldn't give me shit. And now what's going to happen when they find out I've got a lisp when I go back to work? Yay. Yeah, thanks, dentist. Yeah, so I made a bit of a dick of myself when I left. I was just like, is this where I pay for my lisp? Can I afterpay my lisp? Can I, credit card for my lisp? I didn't know I'd get a lisp when I came here, but I have a lisp now. So, yeah, bit of a teeth thing. Yep, got braces and a lisp, you know? So it's always good to pay for one of those things. So anyway, to get back to crane tips, man, that's what we're all about, and finals footy. Now, the thing with finals footy is that we've got a lot on. We've got the rugby league and we've got the AFL. I'm low-key going for Tigers, so any Tigers fans, any Tigers bandwagons, let's jump on, let's do it. All right, and the other people I'm going for is Canberra Raiders in the NRL. All right, so a little low-key thing. But anyway, I want to get back to Slew cranes and how not to bird's nest them, all right? We want to look at ways on how not to bird's nest a slew crane. So in many ways, it's like the Franna one I did, but there's a few different other things, all right? So let's just go outside, all right? Let's just go outside and we'll refresh ourselves with the ropes and the science of it, and then we'll come back in and we'll talk about it, all right? Now, slew cranes, usually got 2 hooks, but we'll go through it. 4 falls on this one, 1 fall on the baby. Alright? This one here, 4 falls, 1 on the baby. Okay? Alright guys, I'm up on the back of the slew crane, I'm all harnessed up, got my JHA, all safety, done a take 5, just to show you guys, alright? Now look, we've got the main hook rope. If we grab this here, look how much slop there is. 4 parts of line. There's a lot of slop. Look, if we look up there, I can move it heaps. Alright? Now look, the baby hook line, not as much. Not as much because I've got the whole weight of it. Alright? We're starting to understand the science. 4 parts of line. Fucking look, I look like the ultimate warrior, smashing the ropes. Alright, 1 part of line, stuff all. Alright, so if this one goes up to 6 parts of line or 8 parts of line, imagine how sloppy this would be. It would be all over the shop. Imagine this winch here, when it's winching, it's going to have a hard time laying it on the rope. So we want to put, you know, if you're doing a heavy lift, obviously you have heavy chains on it, so that will make this tighter. And then you've got heavy lifting gear, spreader bars, so they'll make it tighter. Alright, but the same thing with slew cranes. As soon as you've finished doing your heavy lift, we need to bring it back to 4 falls, all right? Now, sometimes that's not the right amount, but I'll talk about it soon, okay? Okay, so we've been outside. We've had a look at the mechanisms of it, all right? So the more falls you got, the more loose the rope is at the back of the drum, all right? And the more loose it is, the less likely it's going to roll on the drum properly. So that's the battle. And so just like the Franna video, the more falls we have, the more likely it is to bird's nest. So we don't want to have heaps of falls on it. So the first tip is, if you're going to put 6 falls or 8 falls or 12 falls because you've got a heavy lift, as soon as you finish that lift, we want to take that back out and put it back to 4 falls. All right, we don't want to leave 6 falls in. We don't want to leave 8 falls in. All right, we want to get it back to what it was. And usually with any slew crane under about 250, it's 4 falls. It's 4 falls, 4 parts of line that we want to put it on. All right. Okay. Second of all, if you do need to put heaps of falls on, like if you do need to do a heavy lift, like have 6, 8, 12 falls on because you got a heavy lift. If you've got that much on, put some weight on the hook, all right? Put some weight on the hook the very first thing you do. Put your spreader bar on, put your heavy chains on, put your heavy shackles on. Get some weight on the hook, because the more weight is going to be more weight on the rope at the back, okay? Your enemy is having no weight on the hook, all right, with heaps of falls. That's something you want to avoid, all right? So put something on it first, all right? Another thing you can do, it's an old school method, because old school cranes used to get bird's nested a lot more. I've noticed with the new cranes, it's kind of hard to do it, but one of the things I got taught when I was young that served me well is bring down your hooks first before you tally out. So before you tally out, bring your hooks right down to the chassis, all right? Once they're down to the chassis, then boom out. It's just a big no-no with old school dudes. You never boom out and winch down at the same time. Now, some of these new cranes, you can do that. You can boom out and winch down slowly, but it's just bad practice. It's just a bad practice. You just don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like pissing into the wind. Like, you can do it, you know, but it's not a good idea. It's like driving with your feet. Like, you can drive with your feet, but is it a good idea? Probably not, you know what I mean? So we don't want to do these bad ideas that we get accustomed to, all right? Okay, so another thing, just like the Franna, if you need to de-reeve or reeve up the hook, all right, because you've got a heavy load, or after your heavy load, you're reeving back, place the hook on the ground using the jib. So here's the hook, here's the jib, you put it on the ground using the jib. You don't winch the hook down. Don't winch the hook down onto the ground. You've got a high chance of spooling it or bird's nesting it. All right. Always use a jib to place the hook on the ground. Once you've done your reeving, pick up the hook again with your jib. Only using your jib, because then your winch isn't moving. And if your winch isn't moving, you can't bird's nest it. All right. So that's another simple thing. Okay. Now, another thing, bros. Another thing. With a slew crane, it's a bit different to a Franna because, but it's the same. If you've got heaps of stick out in a slew crane and you've got heaps of falls, there's a real high chance, because not only haven't got any weight, you've got all that boom out. So you got all the slack rope on the back of your, on the back of your boom, all right? And so every time I've seen someone bird's nest a crane, a slew crane, every time I've seen it happen is they've had like 6 falls in it, and they've put quite a bit of stick out, and they've thought, look, I'm not going to use the big hook, or they thought, I am going to use the big hook, you know, because on slew cranes you have 2 hooks. All right, and every time I've seen someone's bird's nest it, it's either they've accidentally pushed the big hook lever and they've got 6 falls on it and it spools, or for some reason they've got heaps of stick out and they think they can use 6 falls. All right, and they winch down flat out, or not even flat out, and it spools it. All right, so that's what we want to avoid. Okay, so my rule is, when I operate a slew crane, is I never start the day in the yard with more than 4 falls in my crane, and then I never finish the day in the yard with more than 4 falls in my main hook in the crane. All right, I never leave it in 6 falls and think, oh, you know, I'll just get away with it, because you don't. because every time I've seen someone's bird nest a slew crane, it's because they've left 6 falls or 8 falls in it. They've boomed out full stick, maybe with the intention to use the baby hook, you know, and they've accidentally pushed the lever and it's spilled up because it's got no weight on it. So you want to avoid that. Never start your day with 6 falls in the crane unless you've got a heavy job and you're not putting out heaps of stick, you know, unless that's the case and you've done it the night before. And never finish your day. Never finish your day with 6 or 8 falls in the crane. Knock it back to 4. Now, the smart thing about this, and with slew cranes, you got more of this, is when you've got all that boom out. If you've got like 6 falls in it, you can't actually bring that main hook all the way to the ground. You're going to run out of rope, all right? Because there's not enough rope to do all those falls to get your hook down to the ground. You run out of rope on the back of your winch drum. You run out of rope. And so it's actually, you're not supposed to have that much falls or that much stick out. In most cranes, in the Tadanos, and I've been struggling to find it in the Libers, but they have how much falls, the max amount of falls, with how much stick you have out in it. And I know, and I know most of them have that for a fact, all right? Because that's something you've got to watch out too. You've got to find out how many falls you can have in your hook to how much boom you've got out, all right? Because you can run out of rope. Now, most cranes have an alarm which comes on once you get down to 3 wraps on the winch drum. Most of them have alarms, and I've checked that. I've checked the Tadano ones. They do work, but if they don't work, oh man, wait till you tell your boss you've run the rope off the drum, or the hook starts going down and then it starts coming back up, and you're like, hey, I didn't push the lever down, and my hook's coming up. Wait until you do that one. You'll for sure get a DCM. So we don't want to do that. All right, so I'm going to show you a chart which kind of tells you what I'm talking about. That you should have the more stick you got out, the less falls you should have in it. All right, let's have a look at that. All right, guys. So I've got here a Tadano fawn roughy, just a page out of the load chart. Now, the roughy charts are different to the Tadano fawn all-terrain charts. All right, they've just got everything on this one. All right, but usually on the Tadano fawn all-terrain ones, what you'll have is you'll have your boom length, and then right underneath you'll have another line here which says how much falls you can have on the hook to how much boom you've got out. And it's really important because you can run out of rope. Your hook can't reach the ground to the load. If it has too many falls in it, you'll run out of rope. All right, so it's in their best interest to tell you how many falls you can have in the hook. Now, obviously, the less boom you've got out, the more falls you can have because there's less distance. And when there's heaps of boom out, the less falls you can have. So usually like on full stick, you can only have 2 or 3 or 4, usually 2 or 3 on the all-terrains. This roughy can have 4. And then when you've got no stick out, you can have up to 14 or the max, whatever your max load chart is. And so on this one, down the bottom here, now I hope this is actually what I'm talking about. And someone's like, bro, that's not even what it means, man. But this goes along to my narrative. So the standard number of parts of line for each boom length should be according to this table. The lifting capacity data stored in the automatic limiter is based on the standard number of parts listed in the chart. All right, so boom length, 12 meters, that's no stick out. You can have up to 14 parts of line on each telescoping mode. 12 meters to 20 meters. On your first one, you can have 8. On your second, you can have 4, all right? And then from 20 meters to 47, which is full stick, you can only have maximum of 4. That's the standard parts of line you should have. So on this crane, you can get all the way to the ground with your hook with 4 parts of line without running out of rope. All right. And single top is your fly section,
you should only have one part of line. You can't, it's impossible to have two on there. All right. Now, if you have your main hook still on when you've got your fly on, no more than 4 parts, and you should lock that off so you can't touch it. But don't have 6 parts where you got that much boom out. All right. So 14 parts of line you can have with no stick out, and you can still reach the ground, do all your lifts. And yeah, I hope this table is meaning what I said, but most load charts, if you look through it, they'll have a table like this, or they'll have it underneath each individual boom, like under each boom length. Like it'll have, you can only have certain amount of falls. All right, so this helps you because if you have more, the hook won't be able to reach the ground because you run out of rope. And you don't want to run out of rope and look like an idiot. You don't want to go, oh, I've run out of rope because I've got too much falls in. And number 2, the point of this video is so you don't bird's nest it. All right? So I hope this helps. So, yeah, so the more boom you've got out, the less parts of line you should have in. According to your table, read the load charts, have a look, but common sense, all right? Just common sense, and I'll tell you what I usually have it in. That always works for me, okay?
Okay, so we've had a look at that chart. It's not the best. The Tadano one's the best. It tells you how much falls you can have for each boom, but you kind of get the message. You should have less falls in it the more stick you got out. Okay, and so the other thing I want to get I want to portray, if I can get out of my freaking mouth, is when you have 2 hooks on, and you're full stick, all right, 4 falls has always been good for me if you aren't using the main hook. If you aren't using the main hook, 4 falls has always worked for me, all right? I've never bird's nested it with it on. I've been able to like pull the main hook up just to tidy it up a bit when I'm full stick and put it down, and it doesn't, and it's never bird's nested on me. So 4 falls for me works if I'm going full stick and I'm using the baby hook, the small hook. All right. If I don't have a small hook on and I've just got the main, if I'm going full stick, I don't have any more than 2 falls on the hook. All right. I don't have 4 falls on using the main at full stick. You don't do that. It doesn't make sense either because you can't do 4 falls of work. You can't do 4 falls of work with full stick anyway because you're not good for that amount anyway. So no more than 2. Now with the Tadano fawns, I know that you can have 3 falls in it with most of them and get all the way to the ground. All right? Because remember, like I've just showed you, the more falls you have, you can't get to the ground because you don't have enough rope in your winch drum. All right. So when I'm cruising the streets and I've only got 1 hook, I've got my main hook, and I'm doing full stick work, no more than 2 falls. All right. No more than 2 falls. Now, if I've got 2 hooks on and I'm using the baby hook at full stick, I have no more than 4 falls. I have no more than 4 falls on my main hook. I don't leave 6 on it. All right. And that will keep you out of trouble. So look, just to reiterate, takeaway moments, all right? We don't want heaps of falls on your main hook in a franner and in a slew crane, unless you're doing a heavy lift, because that's what it's for. Sure, you can put as much falls as you can, but just to go over, if you are doing a heavy lift, get some weight on the hook, all right? Don't boom out and winch down at the same time. It's just a bad practice, all right? All the old school cranies will be like, yeah. They always teach you that, all right? And also, if you are going to use heaps of falls, knock it back after the job, all right? Now, I always start my day with no more than 4 falls in the main hook and finish the day with no more than 4 falls. If I'm going full stick, and using the baby hook, 4 falls is what I keep it in, all right, if I'm not using that main hook. If I am using that main hook and I don't have a baby hook on my crane, I knock it back to 2 falls, because 2 falls can get your hook all the way to the ground and all the way back up, and you won't run out of rope. in some cranes, but just check your cranes, check your operator's manual. Most of them tell you how much falls you can have to how much stick you can have out. All right? So that's the main things. The main red flag we can talk about is just having more than 4 falls and heaps of stick out in a slew crane. If you see that, if you see your crane drivers do that, or if you notice your crane's got that, just make sure that's a red flag for you. Going, oh, I remember, old mate Dell, bro. Old mate Dell, he was saying that's a red flag. Okay, maybe we should knock it back. If we don't have time to do it, make sure we don't go full stick, all right? If we are going to use it with a bit of stick out, let's put some weight on it, you know? Let's put some weight on it so it doesn't bird's nest, all right? So I'm kind of repeating myself now. You're probably like, yeah, bro, we get it, bro, we get it. You're the master, we're the students. And it's not like that, man. This is not what I'm like. I just don't want to see you guys bird's nest it, you know? And that's the main thing about this show, you know? Just so you don't have to pay as much cardons in the yard. Now, the thing is, when you do make a mistake in the yard, it does benefit you in this way, that you'll make sure you'll never do that again because you're aware of it now, you know? And it's always good to have some of these close calls, you know? Not actually happen, but close calls where you're like, whoa, and it kind of shakes you up and it gets out of you, you know, you're like, whoa, you know? You're not so complacent anymore. You're not so, oh yeah, you're just not even thinking, all right? So it is a bit of a, you know, it is good to have a shake up now and then, you know what I mean? Just to say, hey, look, let's start concentrating, all right? Let's start really thinking about what we're doing. And if I can save you guys from having one of these accidents or bird's nest in it or something, you know, that's a good thing, isn't it? That's a good thing. So anyway, like these videos, subscribe here. Gonna have some more videos coming out soon. I just had to get over my flu and my cold sores and my braces, and I've got a lisp. So anyway, like these videos, subscribe here. Dell's Rigging Crane Tips. Oh yeah.